Ravens flock, was going on? I hope everybody's in good spirits and having a good day and has had some time to heal from what's happened a couple weeks ago. This is my part 4, just kind of in like this mini series talking about where do I think the team should go from here. I don't know how many more of these I'm going to do. I definitely am going to do at least maybe like 2 more, but I might do more than that. It just depends. But in this specific video, I wanted to talk about the wide receivers, talk about where do we go with the wide receivers, some like really unlikely but interesting possibilities of who we might bring in or who we might draft, or if we do, or maybe if we do nothing at all, kind of exploring those possibilities. But now that the season's over, the only wide receivers we have right now technically are Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and Nelson Agholor. Speaking of Nelson Agholor, he just signed a 1-year extension with us for, I believe it was $3.75 million, which I thought was a good signing. Obviously, they were trying to. He was one of the players who they wanted to work out a contract with quick, to that way they wouldn't be accountable for like the voidable years on his contract. But also, just in general, I just thought it was a good signing for depth. I don't think that's all they're gonna do this offseason, but I think it was a solid move. Nelson Agholor definitely exceeded my expectations. Like, I literally was laughing at him last year when we signed him because it looked so ridiculous. But he definitely did way more than I expected him to. He had some drops here and there, but not as many as I expected him to have. And he made a lot of clutch catches and a lot of clutch plays. Like, he earned Lamar's trust relatively early. That's the crazy thing about it. He had the production that I thought Devin Duvernay was going to have this year. But then on the flip side, he had instant chemistry with Lamar, and he ended up having the chemistry that I thought Rashad Bateman was going to have with Lamar this year. So I think Nelson Agholor fit that wide receiver 3/wide receiver 4 role. I think he fit that role pretty well, almost perfectly. He didn't see, even when he signed, even before he signed, I had a feeling he would probably come back, because he does give me the vibe at this point that at this point in his career, he's just trying to be on a winning team that's really contending. So I think that's definitely a good signing. But one in this title for this video, I called it "Avoiding the Hollywood Brown Trap." I'm sure some people may know what I'm about to kind of get at, but I still wanted to kind of dive into that a bit. So, as we all know, when Hollywood came onto the scene and got drafted in 2019, he had an immediate impact on the team. He was a major deep threat right out the gate. Like, literally, his first 2 plays of his career were like an 83-yard touchdown pass from Lamar, and then like a 67 or 77-yard touchdown from Lamar. So, like, he came right out the gate making major noise. Obviously, he finished the year with 547 yards, which isn't a whole lot, but it was still enough to be impactful. But more importantly, he had 7 touchdowns which, if I'm not mistaken, that to this day, I think that's a franchise record for most receiving touchdowns by a rookie. But I gotta double check. But still, he had a great season, and many people were excited about his potential. And then also, similarly to Zay Flowers, when Hollywood came in, he had an instant chemistry with Lamar. And to the point where there were times where Lamar would look for him faster than other receivers, because he just gained his trust quicker. Just like what we seen with Zay Flowers. And then another thing that kind of reminds me of when we had Hollywood Brown was, of course, what happened this year in the playoffs, right? When we think back to the 2019 playoffs against the Titans, who was the only receiver that was really out there fighting with Lamar trying to make noise? It was Hollywood. As much as a lot of us has critiqued Hollywood, including myself, one thing I have given him credit for is he did have the ability to step up in the playoffs and play above his normal abilities and be the only real reliable option. And we saw a similar thing play out in that Kansas City Chiefs game with Zay, where when you looked out there, nobody was playing with any urgency. Nobody was really fighting other than Lamar and Zay Flowers on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, Kyle Hamilton, I felt like was fighting, even though he gave up a touchdown. But that's neither here nor there. As far as on offense, Zay was the only receiver, the only pass catcher who I felt like was really out there playing with urgency. And again, in 2019, after that happened, after that whole debacle happened, many people felt as though, we had enough. They felt as though just having Hollywood as the number one would cut it, which even back then I just didn't agree with. Not because, oh, he's the worst of the worst player, but just because I felt like a lot of people weren't being realistic about Hollywood's Brown ceiling. Like I wanted Hollywood to prove me wrong. I wanted all of our receivers, every last one of them who I called trash. I wanted all of them to prove me wrong, but at the same time, it just didn't happen. Now, is that all on them? No. We all, I try not to talk about Greg Roman as much anymore, obviously, but we know what it is. But I see a similar scenario playing out right now. Well, not as much as 2019, but I still kind of see a similar scenario with the Zay Flowers right now, where there's still a lot of fans who are acting as if us just having Zay by himself is all we need, really. And even though I hope Zay Flowers proves me wrong, realistically, I think Zay Flowers would probably be better off for number two. And again, that's not a shot to Zay. When you look at a team like the Eagles, look, Devontae Smith had a fantastic rookie season. But at the same time, the Eagles still felt as though he probably would be better off a number two. And they went and got A.J. Brown. And they were right. It just is what it is. And I have a similar feeling about Zay. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Zay is better overall than Hollywood as far as what his ceiling is. I think Zay has a higher ceiling than Hollywood. But at the same time, I still think it's a similar scenario where you're talking about a guy who probably would be better off as like a really high level number two receiver. And in that scenario, I think it would be better. And I see many people are saying similar things, but I think that it would be better to bring in either another high-level number two receiver to play alongside Zay Flowers. That way they could kind of have like a 1A, 1B situation going on where they could just, where it could still work out. Or they should go out and get that bona fide stud who, without a shadow of a doubt, is a number one. Now, is that easier said than done? Yes, absolutely. Do I think there's a lot of scenarios that I'm seeing people bring up that are definitely piquing my curiosity. The main one is definitely going out to get Justin Jefferson, like trading for Justin Jefferson. That's a long shot. And yes, I have him in the thumbnail, but that still is a long shot. But that definitely would be my ideal scenario. Because as far as just general talent and as far as like his actual ceiling, I think Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in football. Even better than Tyreek. If you're talking just like general talent and his ceiling, because I don't think Justin has even hit his ceiling yet. Whereas Tyreek, as legendary as Tyreek is right now, I think we're witnessing the peak of Tyreek. And this is a high peak, obviously. You're talking about somebody who's flirting with 2,000 yards every year. But I do think Justin could surpass that. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Will we get Justin? Probably not. But obviously, there are rumors that right now there's no guarantee that he wants to go back to Minnesota. There's rumors that the Vikings might get rid of Kirk. And it seems as though Kirk and Justin, they've been really close, and he doesn't want to play with a brand new quarterback who's getting drafted, or just like, you know what I mean, or like a low end veteran quarterback who isn't as good. So he might be on the move, but I doubt it. But I definitely think the Ravens should shoot for the moon regardless. Another name that I don't see Ravens fans bringing up, which I think is kind of interesting, is Brandon Ayuk. Like literally like a few days after the Super Bowl, there were rumors that was starting to spread that behind the scenes, Brandon Ayuk is like completely furious that he wasn't targeted as much as Debo in the Super Bowl, which I understand that if that turns out to be true, I fully understand it because even though Debo's more popular and Debo's like the gadget guy and all that, at the end of the day, I do fully believe Brandon Ayuk is a much better wide receiver, and he is their wide receiver one. So I could understand him being a little frustrated about that. So that's one name I don't think I've seen any Ravens fans bring up, but I definitely would like to see the Ravens try to take a shot at trading for Brandon Ayuk. I don't think you would need to give up as much as you would have to give up for Justin Jefferson. So that's something I would at least want to see them kind of kick the tires on, see if something could come from that. Zay Flowers and Brandon Ayuk, I think would be a very deadly combination. Another name that I'm seeing come up now is Michael Pittman Jr., which that's actually a name that I brought up like a year and a half ago because I did like a whole video like a year and a half ago talking about why I felt he was really underrated. I know a lot of Ravens fans, they want that big body wide receiver who can high point the ball and who can make plays and catch 50-50 balls. Michael Pittman has shown that ability, especially when he plays us for whatever reason. Like like that catch he got, that 50-yard touchdown he caught on Anthony Averett a couple years ago, it still lives in my head rent free. It's been like 3 years. But he's definitely, in my opinion, a very underrated receiver. He's really never played with a good quarterback his whole career. Like, he's been playing with a bunch of washed up veterans. Like, he got a few games to play with not Anthony Anderson. I mean, what's his name? Anthony Richardson. But again, Anthony Richardson got hurt like week 5 or whatever. So he still, to this day, has really not played with anybody young and in their prime. So I would be interested to see if he came to a team like this, what he would do and how he would fit into this team. I think it would work. I think it would work a lot better than a lot of people would give him credit for being. But I don't know if the Ravens are going to want to pay him top dollar because if he wants 20 plus million, you might as well call the Vikings and try to trade for Justin Jefferson. If you're going to have to pay up that much money, you might as well just, again, keep shooting for the moon. But it just depends. I see a lot of people talk about Mike Evans. I'm cool with us. Like, I wouldn't mind us getting Mike Evans. Like, if we get him, I'm cool with it because obviously he's a future Hall of Famer. I still think he has a lot left in the tank. The only thing that would make me a little concerned is knowing the Ravens' history of wanting to bring in like older vets who are past 30. The only thing that would concern me is like the off. What if by chance, as soon as we sign him, that's when he finally falls off? That would definitely disappoint me if we go out, we make that move for Mike Evans, and then this becomes the first year he doesn't get 1,000 yards. He's a shell of himself. He can't do this or that anymore. Like, that would definitely be sad. We obviously just saw Odell just kind of waste away all season pretty much. And I saw some people say we should bring him back. I don't think we should, obviously. And I wanted him badly, obviously. I did videos going back like 2-3 years talking about it, but we brought him in too late, really. Like, and he just really had nothing left worthy of being paid that money. Like, if we had paid him what we paid Nelson Agholor last year, it'd be a different conversation. But I mean, he got $18 million for that, so you got to just cut your losses and just try again. And another option I'm seeing people bring up is the option of us bringing back Hollywood. I'd be cool with that too, honestly. I think the combination of Zay and Hollywood would be interesting, especially if we go out and draft somebody like a Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette or Adonai Mitchell in like the second round and maybe let them develop for a little while behind the guys we got now. The combination of Zay and Hollywood actually would be pretty dangerous because even though we compare them so much because, we're Ravens fans, so that's who we're thinking about, they are still different players at the end of the day. Like, Hollywood's more of a finesse kind of player, where Zay, he's more of a tough kind of player. Like, he's more willing to take contact. Now, to Hollywood's credit, I've watched some Arizona Cardinals games. He is a little more physical now compared to when he was with us, but I mean, he's still Hollywood. He's gonna, when he catches the ball, he's gonna do that little tap dance before he drops to the ground. But it is what it is. But still, I still think they have like skills that I think would balance off each other well. To this day, people don't acknowledge the fact that Hollywood is easily one of like the five fastest players in football. He's much faster than Zay. But then on the flip side, Zay is so much more shiftier and quicker and short spaced than Hollywood was. So I definitely think I think that would be a very interesting combination. Then obviously the last option, like I hinted at a second ago, was us in the draft trying to go out and see if we can get one of those guys. Whether it's us pulling off an unlikely move of moving up in the draft and trying to see if we can go get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors or Romo Dunze or whoever, or if we just stay exactly where we're at in the draft and then hope that maybe Keon Coleman or one of these guys with potential falls to us. We just got to kind of wait and see. The one upside to last year, even though the Odell deal didn't work out, it does at least give Ravens fans a little more hope that EDC is going to start to get way more aggressive with trying to solve this, trying to solve the wide receiver situation once and for all, because it's our receiving room isn't as bad as it was several years ago, but at the same time, it's still an area that could use improvement, and EDC has shown a tendency to be aggressive when it comes to certain positions. You see it all the time with cornerback. Like, I can guarantee you, I will bet you money we're still going to draft a cornerback this year. Brandon Stevens had the best year of his career so far. He's broken out. In my opinion, Brandon Stevens is the new CB1 on our team, even above, I think Marlon Humphrey, he might have maybe two or three more years left before the Ravens just kind of cut him. But even then, I still think the Ravens are still going to either make a move. Like, I just saw a rumor earlier today that they may kick the tires on trying to get Xavier Howard. I saw rumors months ago saying that they wanted to try to see if they could somehow get Pat Surtain, which I think is unlikely. But still, when it comes to certain positions, they have shown a tendency to be aggressive. One thing that we've always wanted to see, though, is when it comes to offense, are they going to keep that same aggression that they have on defense? And for the sake of optimism, I'm going to hope that they absolutely do just that, especially because you can't play around at this point because we've already paid Lamar. Like, we already squandered his rookie deal trying to take the cheaper route when it comes to surrounding him with talent, because we saw that he was able to do so much more with so little. And we already have seen that doesn't really work. And it doesn't mean it can't work, but it's just much harder than if you give him enough talent to really compete with other quarterbacks who have higher levels of talent around them. We already seen that Lamar, without an offense around him that's considered the best, even if we consider it great, the NFL as a whole doesn't want to consider it great. We've already seen him win 2 MVPs with that. At this point now, we've seen so many other quarterbacks be elevated by talent, and we've seen quarterbacks like Lamar and a few others, elevate the talent around them. I definitely want to see a scenario where we get the best of both worlds, where Lamar is being surrounded by talent that can elevate him while he elevates them. I definitely think Zay is going to step up to the plate. The only question is, can he surpass people like me? Can he surpass our expectations and be that superstar? Or is he going to kind of more realistically be that number 2? It's still yet to be seen. I want Bateman to break out next year, but I wanted Bateman to break out this year too, and we saw how that worked out. It just like he was getting open, but not much was happening. Whether it's because Lamar doesn't trust him, whether it's because Monken doesn't really like him, whether it's because he doesn't make the most of the plays, that's all up for debate. But at the end of the day, we can't just keep holding out hope that Bateman is going to step up. Now, if he does, different conversation, but in general, I would rather play it safe and let's really go out and continue to try to build out this room. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. What do you think our solution at wide receiver should be? Or do you think there even isn't a solution that we need to look into? Or do you think that we already have the solution? Like, do you feel like Zay, all you need to do is just let Zay get one more year to really come into his own, and then we could just draft some guys and get some undrafted free agents? Like, let me know, what do you think is the way to go at wide receiver this year in the comment section below.